Ladies and gentlemen, please proceed to your seats. Our program is about to begin. Thank you.
Test. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could ask you to take your seats, we're going to begin today's program. Please take your seats. What?
Mic for the minister.
Okay. Go ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to today's conference on new horizons and opportunities in the Saudi healthcare sector. My name is Ed Burton. I'm president and CEO of the U.S. Saudi Arabian Business Council, and it's my pleasure to be your moderator for today's program. You know, if you live in the United States these days, you hear about the subject of national health care, and you immediately know that the fate of Obamacare, affordable insurance for those with pre-existing conditions, and the accessibility of quality health care are some of the hot topics in the headlines. And of course, it's being debated in the halls of Congress. So you would be forgiven for overlooking the fact that there are other countries in the world that are working diligently to reform their own national health care systems. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is one of those countries. Our aim today is to not only present you with the latest information on the kingdom, what it's doing to restructure its national healthcare system and improve the quality of medical services, but also to describe where the opportunities are to participate for businesses in the Saudi market and partner with the kingdom's public and private sector communities to help the kingdom achieve what it envisions in Vision 2030 for its healthcare system. You will hear from some of the most respected government and private sector leaders engaged in this vitally important sector. So I do not believe that you will leave us disappointed. My role at the podium today is to keep the program flowing well and to keep to our scheduled agenda times. But I want to take just a few moments to note with appreciation some of our key participants. We, of course, are thrilled and grateful to the Saudi Arabian Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Commerce and Investment for choosing us to partner to bring this conference together today. Of course, we thank GE for their collaboration and commitment to this conference and for Mr. Jeffrey Immelt's presence today. We also want to thank our conference corporate sponsors, our partners for their financial support, without which the conference would not be what we believe it will be today. As you can see from the displays, our strategic partners are the El Safe Development Group and Anfas Medical Care. Our industry partner is Raji Invest, which is a part of Mohammed Abdulaziz Al Raji and Sons Investment Company, and our breakfast sponsor, IBM Watson Health. For a listing of supporting partners, I refer you to your program booklet for the conference. These are critically important partners that helped us bring this conference together. And many of you in the audience would not be here and probably would not have found out about the conference were it not for those supporting partners. I also want to offer a special thanks to the Royal Saudi Arabian Embassy in Washington, particularly our good friend Taha Al-Sharif, our commercial attaché at that embassy. And lastly, of course, I want to thank the executives and staff members of our U.S. Saudi Arabian Business Council for the planning and organization of this event. And now let's begin our program. Ladies and gentlemen, at our Business Council, we are quite fortunate to have great governance, oversight, and guidance from a superb board of directors led by our U.S. co-chairman, Mr. Peter Robertson, the former vice chairman of the board of directors of Chevron Corporation, and our Saudi co-chairman and currently chairman of the Saudi Arabian Investment Bank, Mr. Abdullah Juma, who, of course, many of you know as the former president and CEO of Saudi Aramco. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Juma to the podium to give his welcoming remarks.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Your Excellency, Dr. Tawfiq Rabi'a, Mr. Immelt, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a great pleasure to see such a wonderful gathering of Business Council members, old friends, and new friends here this morning. It's wonderful to be visiting this great country. Thousands of Saudi men and women consider their second home, having lived their beautiful school and college lives here, and having enjoyed the hospitality of this great nation and the warmth and friendship of its people. Many of those students lived in this state. Personally, my 4 children had their education in this country, and my 2 daughters graduated from institutions in Boston and Cambridge. Being in this place today brings to my heart, like it does in the hearts of many Saudi parents sitting here today, it brings feelings of pride in the accomplishments of their offsprings and gratitude for their educators. Massachusetts is also particular as it is one of the world's leading centers of excellence in the healthcare industry, with a superstructure of institutions and companies that have become household names in everything from R&D to medical education, health services to medical devices and equipment manufacturing. Saudi Arabia is working diligently to develop such an innovative and world-class cluster to serve the needs of our people and the region. We understand that to do that, we need partners, which is why we are here today. Vision 2030, which you may hear mentioned frequently today, is a testament to the kingdom's determination and drive to create a business environment in which these partnerships flourish. As part of Vision 2030 and the National Transformation Program, the Saudi Ministry of Health is undertaking initiatives aimed to grow the local pharmaceutical industry, privatize our public hospital system, make the delivery of primary healthcare services, and overall boost efficiency throughout our healthcare sector. Over the years, Saudi Arabia has had a long and successful history of partnerships with the US companies. The Saudi Oil Company, which some of you here may recall I formerly led as the president and CEO for more than 13 years, was historically built on successful partnerships with familiar US names like Chevron, Exxon, Mobil, and Texaco. But it's not only in oil and gas where relations between the US companies and Saudi Arabia run deep. The commercial ties between companies in our 2 countries is the glue that has bound the strong US-Saudi bilateral relationships since the founding of modern Saudi Arabia in the 1930s. So today, we continue a long and mutually profitable tradition. The US-Saudi Arabian Business Council, of whom I'm co-chairman, is proud to have played an important role in this history. For more than 20 years, the Business Council has helped facilitate hundreds of new US-Saudi business relationships through events like this, trade missions, and individual company consultations. For those of you here today who are looking to enter the Saudi market for the first time or expand your market base in the kingdom, I strongly recommend that you make contact with a Business Council team member before you leave the conference today. I commend and I second what Ed just said, and I commend the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Commerce and Investment, General Electric, and our people at the Business Council, and all supporting organizations who have worked so hard to make this program happen. It is my hope that today will bring outstanding combination of highly informative content and commercially valuable contacts. I wish you all a most productive conference experience, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Abdullah. We next have a video presentation on the Saudi healthcare sector, which we'd like you to watch. I'm sure you'll find it illuminating. Please roll the video.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to speak to you today at this healthcare forum. These are exciting times for our country. I do apologize for not being physically present. However, my colleagues from the Ministry of Health, led by His Excellency Minister Dr. Tawfiq al-Rabi'a, and my team from SAGIA, Saudi Arabia General Investment Authority, led by His Excellency Governor Ibrahim Al-Umar, are present. They will do their utmost to answer and address any questions or queries you may have with regard to healthcare investment opportunities in Saudi Arabia. Good health is our most valuable asset. It is central for our economies, our societies, our families, and to each of us as individuals. Therefore, our Vision 2030 has put a national goal to create better health system to meet the multiple challenges we face and those that lies ahead of us. Our colleagues in the Ministry of Health have dedicated so much time and effort to design the new healthcare reform plan. Incorporated in this plan are investment opportunities that we invite you to explore and look into it and participate in. We are looking for partners to work with us and join us to realize our goal. On our part and from our end, we will endeavor to ensure that your investment is safe and flourish. I would like to assure you here and now that the Saudi Arabian government is making effort to bring into actuality our Vision 2030 by making the kingdom one of the most attractive nations in which to invest. We are working to achieve this target by focusing on private sector development, addressing the structural impediments to economic growth, and reducing all barriers to growth, such as the removal of regulatory restriction and reduction of bureaucracy, and streamline all the operations. Finally, I would like to reiterate that these are exciting times for our country. We are privileged to have you here with us today. I urge you, ladies and gentlemen, to make the very most of today by talking to and listening and learning from each other. And I would like to take this opportunity to invite you to Saudi Arabia, and I hope I see you in Saudi Arabia, and soon it will be your second home. Once again, I welcome you, and I hope that you enjoy and benefit from this event. Thank you.
We wanted to show you that video, of course, since His Excellency, the Commerce and Investment Minister, could not be with us today. However, of course, as you can see, he sends his regards, and especially the sentiment that we need to get more of you to the kingdom. Of course, His Excellency, Minister Al-Qasabi, is a great friend of the Business Council, and we know that he is one of the best champions of U.S. business interests in the kingdom. And of course, a successful businessman in his own right. And carrying on some of the legacy projects that His Excellency, the Health Minister, started with aggressive consumer protection, and under Minister Al-Qasabi's tenure, the Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise Authority is really taking off. So we want to thank Minister Al-Qasabi. We also have another video on the healthcare sector with a bit more detail in terms of the market. Please roll the video.
With a population of over 32 million, of which 60% are under the age of 30, and a 2% annual growth rate, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia remains the most attractive foreign investment destination in the Arab world. As part of the G20, the kingdom boasts of world-class healthcare facilities with cutting-edge technology, making the healthcare sector an exciting and attractive proposition for foreign investors looking to make gains.
Well, Saudi Arabia has been an important market for us for a long time. It's a market where clearly the health system is developing in a way that really allows us to get our products to patients. And lately, we've taken note of government policy positions which are favorable to innovation. And so that's all encouraging us to continue our efforts to invest in Saudi Arabia.
From Saudi Arabia, investors will find themselves on a launch pad to reach diversified business opportunities in Africa, Asia, and Europe. With a continuously enhanced world-class infrastructure linking Saudi Arabia to the outside world, Saudi-based businesses are only a 5-hour flight away from 1.5 billion consumers in the exciting, emerging, and mature economies of Africa, Asia, and Europe. The kingdom is the largest healthcare market in the MENA region. As such, the government will cumulatively spend $180 billion on healthcare over the next 5 years in both traditional and frontier subsectors to meet demand and tackle the kingdom's public health challenges. In this light, investors will find significant opportunities across the entire sector, including hospital and healthcare services, pharmaceuticals, and medical devices. Apart from this, there is government commitment to drive private sector contribution to GDP from 45 to 65%. Hence, the Ministry of Health is shifting focus away from its traditional role as a healthcare provider to become solely a regulator of healthcare in the kingdom. The National Transformation Program has also set a target to increase the private sector's contribution to healthcare spending from 25 to 35%. As 70% of pharmaceuticals and 90% of medical devices are imported into the kingdom, cumulative government spending on pharmaceuticals over the next 5 years will be worth $42 billion, while the cumulative government spending on medical devices over the same period will be worth approximately $11 billion. With the Saudi Vision 2030 being an institutionalized strategy that is stewarded and delivered by a government of accountability, new opportunities are being created for investors to capture a lucrative share of the Saudi healthcare market.
The vision is exciting. I think it's encouraging to see the kingdom lay out a path to diversify their economy, invest in a knowledge economy, which is our business, and then also support that with social programs that improve the health of society, because health is wealth as well.
As Saudi Arabia continues to expand into an attractive investment destination, there is indeed no better time than now to invest in the thriving healthcare sector.
And now I'd like to ask Mr. Waleed Tawfiq, Chairman of Anfas Medical, our strategic partner for today's conference, to come to the podium to introduce His Excellency, the Minister of Health. Okay, here.
Change. This is how we see His Excellency Dr. Tawfiq bin Fawzan al-Rabi'a. Dr. al-Rabi'a started his career as a teaching fellow at the University of Pittsburgh after obtaining his PhD in computer science from the same university. He then decided to return to his country and continue his work as a faculty member at King Saud University. To mention just a few of his highlights from his distinguished career since his return, he served as a Director General of Information and Communication Technology Sector at the Saudi Arabian General Investment Authority, Sagia. In April 2007, he was appointed the Director General of the Saudi Industrial Property Authority, Mudun. In December 2011, he was appointed the Minister of Commerce and Industry to the Saudi cabinet. Dr. Rabia was successful in implementing the concept of industrial estates and technology zones and transformed the Ministry of Commerce into one of the most efficient ministries in the kingdom. On May 2016, he was assigned to become the Minister of Health, carrying on his shoulders the responsibility for transforming healthcare in Saudi Arabia. I sincerely believe that he is the right man for this job, especially with our new ambitious Saudi 2030 vision. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor that I welcome on stage His Excellency Dr. Rabia.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Distinguished guests, I would like to thank you for your participation today. It is my privilege to engage you in the ongoing transformational program that is geared towards reforming the health system in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The Kingdom's health sector is vast and complex, and the Ministry of Health plays a diverse set of roles and responsibilities, combining both regulatory and provision to serve its 31 million residents and 18 million visitors. Aside from being one of the most affordable healthcare systems in the world, we are proud of our clinical achievements, which have resulted in lower infant mortality rates, greater vaccinations, and an average life expectancy of 74 years versus a global average of 70 years. Despite these advancements, we face a set of challenges ranging from changing population demographics, unhealthy lifestyle, increasing burden of diseases, and escalating costs. As part of the 2030 vision, we are aiming to address these challenges by starting an exciting transformation journey to reform our health system. We will do so by holding ourselves accountable to achieving a set of strategic objectives that aim at improving the access to care for all, enhancing the quality and safety standards of healthcare, reducing the burden of diseases, becoming efficient and financially sustainable, empowering our healthcare workforce, improving the use of technology to enable the provision of care, enabling the localization of our pharma and medical devices to become self-sufficient. One of our most priorities that is at heart of the transformation is the innovation of a new model of care with a focus on prevention. With the goal of privatization, we are seeking to improve efficiency, access, and quality by transferring healthcare provision responsibility from the Ministry of Health to a network of economically viable corporations. And with the transfer of these provisions, the Ministry of Health will serve as the regulator of the health sector. We will also reform our health financing by shifting from a budget-based payment system to a value-based system. The private sector has a major role to play in our transformation as we increase their engagement in 9 identified projects as the first wave of implementation. Lastly, digitization will be the great enabler for the transformation of our health sector. It will unlock productivity, guarantee quality of care, maximize patient safety and satisfaction, expand access to services, and ultimately develop a unified electronic records for every customer. I would like to conclude by saying that while we realize that our reform agenda is ambitious, we remain committed to achieving it, and we would like to extend to you the opportunity of participating in this transformational and impactful journey with us. Thank you for joining us, and I wish you all an enjoyable and fruitful conference. Thank you.
And now I'd like to ask our Saudi co-chairman, Mr. Abdullah Juma, to come to the podium to introduce Mr. Emel.
When I spoke a few minutes ago of the many long-term, productive and profitable partnerships that have marked the commercial history of the US and Saudi Arabia, there are few more stellar examples of commitment by a US company to the Saudi market than General Electric. Over the past 80 years, GE has contributed to the development of Saudi Arabia in multiple sectors through the introduction of innovative products and technologies, as well as important contributions to industry localization and training. In the healthcare space, about 90% of Saudi hospitals deploy GE technology. GE is also partnering with the Ministry of Health to boost healthcare sector competencies in the kingdom with a focus on training. The development of a dedicated healthcare skills and training institute with King Fahd Medical City is an example of this cooperation. I'm honored today to be able to introduce the chairman and CEO of General Electric Company, Mr. Jeffrey Immelt. And if you pay even the slightest attention to business publications, journals, or media outlets, he really needs no introduction. As they say, name recognition stands for much these days. Jeffrey has been the strong and steady hand guiding GE's increasing fortunes since 2001. He has been named one of the world's best CEOs 3 times by Barron's. Since he began serving as CEO, GE has been named America's most admired company by Fortune magazine. Polls by Barron's and the Financial Times have both named GE as one of the world's most respected companies under Jeffrey's watch. Jeffrey is a member of President Donald Trump's Committee on American Manufacturing, and under President Obama's administration, he chaired the President's Council on Jobs and Competitiveness. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming into the podium Mr. Jeffrey Immelt.
Great to be with you this morning. Mr. Juma, it's really great to see you again, an old friend, leader of Saudi Aramco and many organizations in Saudi Arabia, and great to be with His Excellency, who I've worked with for many years, now in Ministry of Health. So it's great to be with all of you this morning on behalf of GE. And what I want to do in just a few minutes is just really discuss a little bit about views of the kingdom from somebody that has been traveling there for more than 3 decades and can give you a perspective. Talk a little bit about how I view globalization in the world today, and then maybe just focus on healthcare. And I really want to maybe identify with the 2 audiences that are here today, both our friends and partners who are here from the kingdom, but also potential investors that are in the room today for whom this represents, I think, a new opportunity to experience the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So, point number one, for somebody that's been going to the Kingdom for a long time, I'm a big believer in Vision 2030. I see more energy in the Kingdom today. I think the directions are clearer. I think they've become more investable. And the mission that the government has put in place, I think, is the right mission for the Kingdom. And that's one is really driving this difficult but necessary transition from being only a resource-rich country into one that's being with a more diversified economy that really does a strong job of job creation, capability development, and this is the transition that's underway in the Kingdom today. I view it as a business person to be the right move, highly investable, and I, as an outsider, think the people that the Deputy Crown Prince has put in place are the right people to lead the country forward in this endeavor. So I think just the extent to which I can add any credibility from somebody that travels the world, I'd like to really be very clear in our support and our, let's say, our really belief that this is the right move and one that we invest in and one that we'll continue to invest in the future. And part of that are privatization initiatives like the one we talk about today. So for those of you that are global investors, I'd put the Kingdom on the grid. I'd look at it hard. I think this is the right time and really the right place. The second thing I'd talk to is just the nature of globalization as an American multinational. This year, GE celebrates its 125th birthday. So quite a long time in business. And we've seen lots of changes both in ourselves and in the world over that time period. As we stand here today, GE is really maybe the world's preeminent high-tech industrial company. Somebody that's really investing massively in the digitization of industrial assets and growing in some new, I'd say, activities that are really focused on, capturing for ourselves some of the most important digital markets that industrial companies can have in that time period. Maybe the biggest change in my career, certainly the biggest change in the last 15 years for the company, is one of globalization. So I joined GE in 1982. 80% of our revenue was in the United States. I became CEO in 2001. 70% of our revenue was in the United States. And now in 2017, 70% of our revenue is outside the United States. So in many ways, I've lived the life of a global business leader. I've seen the changes in our own company. And the message that I would give you in this global transition is that you don't succeed today by thinking about it as the theory of globalization. You succeed today by localizing. You can only succeed today by seeing everything from the ground level, by being willing to take risks side by side in the countries that you're working in. You can't fly into the Kingdom and be successful flying in and out. You have to be part of the fabric of the country. And I'd say this philosophy that we've really embraced inside the GE for the last decade or so has really been seminal in terms of really establishing us as a global company, as a global leader. And today, this year, we'll have almost $80 billion of revenue outside the United States. And that part of our company grew by 19% in the first quarter. So we are strong believers in the global economy, and we're very much believers that the only way you can do that is by being local. Now, globalization goes in and out of popularity. It's in a less popular mode right now, but that doesn't really slow us down. We're very much engaged in being part of the country and part of growth. I think we've done a bad job of describing globalization in a way that everybody thinks it's outsourcing. Everybody thinks it's wage arbitrage and things like that. That's really not what we think about in globalization today. We think about it in terms of accessing global markets, capability building, being able to be part of the solutions as countries go through the kind of changes Saudi Vision 2030 goes through. And in the end, our constituents are really our people on the ground. Really, I don't read the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal to learn about Saudi Arabia. I listen to our local teams describe what's going on the ground. So I think we very much believe that this model of localization, this model of being the fabric of every country is critical, and it's important for all the investors to understand that I think you're only going to access the kingdom in Vision 2030 if you're willing to put roots on the ground and be part of the country. So what's our experience been? So we've invested about $1 billion in the kingdom in the last 4 or 5 years, and we plan to invest another $2 or $3 billion in the next 4 years. We've doubled our employment in the last 4 years. We plan to double our employment again in the next 4 years. So we put our money where our mouth is in terms of working. Most of our workforce are Saudis, so we've invested in local capability. And I'm just going to give you kind of a sampling of the kind of things that are possible in the kingdom for the people out there that are investors. And we've localized manufacturing gas turbines. For those of you who've never seen a gas turbine, it's complicated, it's sophisticated, it's high tech. And we now manufacture not just for the kingdom, but for the region in Saudi Arabia, using Saudi workers, Saudi engineers very successfully. We've launched a business process outsourcing center in combination with Aramco and Tata Consulting. We now have 1,000 women who are doing backroom process outsourcing work. We plan to double or triple of that in the next few years. So think about that as a center that can do healthcare, billing, healthcare process work, things like that. That's up and going in the kingdom. We've done a lot of capability building. We've done a lot of training and supplier development. We've worked very hard to bring suppliers with us as we've invested in the kingdom. So we're building out a small and medium enterprise infrastructure in the kingdom. We've got 2 research centers in the Technical Valley, so we've been able to access some of the engineers that are being graduating from Saudi schools, so we think that's quite positive. We're building service centers, so the ongoing operational aspect, particularly headed towards military aircraft. So we're seeing the good operational capability. When you think about things like doing servicing on aircraft and things like that, this is the same capability that can go into operating hospitals, and we find that to be a good experience. We've done joint investing with both SAGIA and with SAIIC. So we found good partnerships to do good joint investing that exists with the people in the kingdom. And now we're investing to build digital capabilities. So working with Saudi Aramco and the Ministry of Health, we're going to build the industrial internet platform in the kingdom, right? So high-tech manufacturing, business process outsourcing, services, operation, digital transformation by GE in the kingdom, all in the kingdom. Okay, so for global investors, I'm just here to say these are the kinds of things that are important. The last thing I'd say is, look, over the last, let's say, 15 to 20 years in the company, we've acquired 10 state-owned enterprises. We've been a part of privatization efforts in countries around the world as they've gone through something similar to what the Excellency is talking about. So I would advocate for those of you that want to invest in the kingdom that getting in on the ground level as countries go through this privatization process is also quite important. So that's our experience in the kingdom. And now let's drill down in healthcare. GE's healthcare business is about a $19 billion global business. We focus in on diagnostic imaging, life sciences, information technology, and service. And we were an early investor in this notion that there's 5 billion underserved patients, consumers, people around the world as it pertains to healthcare. So we've tried, clearly we're big in the US and clearly we're big in Europe, but we've also built lots of capability as it pertains to how you develop healthcare in emerging and growth markets like the kingdom. And so we participated in public-private partnerships. We've participated in capability building. We participated in new technologies that go to those regions, new business models, new financing models, information technology, in order to build that kind of capability. And I would offer for those of you that are looking to maybe set up in the kingdom for the first time, we could be a good partner. We've gone through processes like this in Turkey, Indonesia, other places around the world, and we've got experience to bear as the kingdom goes through this privatization process in the next months and years. So again, I think the minister is doing exactly the right thing in terms of driving privatization, building investable models, and we participate in similar activities as it pertains to our work around the world. I'm just going to drill down into some of the ways we've worked with the Ministry of Health and in the healthcare sector in Saudi Arabia. We've done a lot of work as it pertains to training and process improvement in the healthcare sector. So we've literally, for the last 5 years, we've invested in process improvement in healthcare. What I like about the kingdom is they value metrics, accountability, and we can see improvements being made and great, I'd say, collaboration in those activities. We've trained more than 10,000 healthcare professionals in more than 30 hospitals in the kingdom. So we've invested a lot in capability building as it pertains to building out the healthcare sector. And this is not just the major hospitals, but also some of the regional hospitals as well. So we've had a big footprint there. We've got 2 projects underway right now to localize activities in the kingdom. One as it pertains to bioprocess manufacturing for the purposes of maybe manufacturing vaccines and products like that in the kingdom. And the other one is going to look at localizing some of the high-tech medical products in the kingdom. So we've got 2 activities going on today that looks at both of those activities. And lastly, we signed an MOU this morning to really develop the healthcare IT framework, particularly around being able to do advanced analytics around healthcare in the kingdom, which we think is going to drive future activities. So everything that I've talked about in the balance of the company, I think exists in the kingdom as well. The last thing I've always felt, I don't think it's quite there yet, but this is the promise that exists in the kingdom, is it's geographically located in a place where for a multinational company like some in this room or like GE, you can look at Northern Africa, the rest of the Gulf states, and look at an exporting zone that expands beyond just the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So we've looked at that in context as well. So, look, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been going to Saudi a long time. You know, I always say when you run a company, you have people that work with you that kind of can answer the questions, what should we do and why should we do it? It's typically up to the CEO to decide when you do something. You know, you decide the time. And I actually think this is a good time in the kingdom. Our own personal experiences are quite good, right? I think we shake a hand, we do a deal, we see things happen, and so our own personal experience is good. I think healthcare is a particularly good place to be investing in the kingdom because I think there's a lot of opportunity, but I think you've got systems already in place that you can invest in. And so I would advise that. And the last thing I would say is that we put our money where our mouth is. We've invested, we've doubled the employment, we're doubling the investment, we're doubling the employment again. So you won't be alone if you go there. I always train all the GE people to read everything, right? So I always say, hey, when you walk in a room and you're meeting with the government or something like that, read what they're saying and then do it, really. So I would read this and just make your own investment decisions about the kingdom. But again, we're quite committed and glad to be here today. Excellency, it's great to be with you, and it's great to be with all of you. And welcome to our new home in Boston. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Emel, for sharing your thoughts and your insight. Very much appreciated. And now it is my privilege to introduce the governor of the Saudi Arabian General Investment Authority, His Excellency Engineer Ibrahim Al-Omar. His Excellency was recently appointed as governor last month, and he brings over 15 years of private sector experience to Sagia. The governor has an extensive and strong professional background in the information, communications, technology, and logistics sectors. Among the distinguished appointments His Excellency Engineer Al-Omar has assumed during his distinguished career has been serving as the Chief Executive Officer of the National Shipping Company of Saudi Arabia, the Chief Alliance and Partnership Officer and Chief Product Development Officer at Etihad Etisalat Company, otherwise known as Mobile, and the Chief Executive Officer of Viva Bahrain, and numerous positions at the Saudi Telecom Company, otherwise known as STC. He has also served on the boards of numerous public and private sector organizations and as chairman for 3 major international telecom projects for various consortiums. Engineer Al-Omar holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals. Please welcome Engineer Al-Omar to the podium.
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good morning, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here today among a distinguished guest. This speech marks my first public address as the Governor of Saudi Arabian General Investments Authority, also known as SAGIA. As a newly minted public servant, appointed 1 year after the kingdom started its transformative journey called Vision 2030, I am encouraged by the interest you have shown in the kingdom by being here today. I believe this event indicates a level of confidence in Saudi Arabia that we Saudis are working hard to match by giving investors every opportunity to help us write the next exciting chapter of our country's success story. My transition to government had led me to reflect on where we stand now, where tomorrow will lead us, but most importantly for me, what SAGIA's role will be in our future together. I believe that SAGIA is, and increasingly will be, the advocate for all investors in the kingdom. Like a company that listens to its shareholders, SAGIA will serve as the conduit between the needs of the business community and the actions of the government that ultimately influence the business environment in Saudi Arabia. Currently, there are dedicated teams of talented men and women within the organization working to fulfill this role to meet Vision 2030's aspiration to move our ranking on the Global Competitiveness Index from 25 to 10. It should be our commitment, however, to further expand and enhance our ability to rapidly respond to feedback from local and foreign investors. Ultimately, I will consider it a win for SAGIA when we find solutions that enable greater success for investors in the kingdom. SAGIA will also focus on understanding Saudi Arabia's strong value proposition through finding, packaging, and promoting more investment opportunities. As you know, in Saudi, the healthcare sector alone will be worth $180 billion over the next 5 years. This, however, is only the beginning. In 5 years' time, the Ministry of Health will still be undergoing its transition to become a healthcare regulator. This means there are many more lucrative localization opportunities in the healthcare sector to come. As they become available, SAGIA will be prepared to help you gain access to them by providing the information and links you need to establish or expand your presence in Saudi Arabia. Ladies and gentlemen, since my appointment last week, I had time to reflect on time and history. Around 50 years ago, Saudi Arabia embarked on a development project that allowed our country to accomplish feats in only decades, where others it took them centuries. We applied our resources to move quickly from a rural society to become one of the largest economies in the world. Our track record in such a short period of time has shown that we are not only serious about progress and reform, but we pursue it without pause. Once again, we find ourselves in a period of rapid transformation. This period stands to be a win-win for Saudi Arabia and those investors that choose to partner with us on our journey. For those that join us down that road, SAGA will be your steadfast companion. And with our unity of purpose as we seek to ensure and build your success, I foresee a future that's especially bright for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency, for sharing your thoughts. You honor us by giving your first public address since assuming the governorship here at this conference. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to turn to our first panel discussion, Best Practices and Innovation in Healthcare Delivery. And this panel will be moderated by Mr. Stephen Nash, Healthcare Practice Group co-leader at Squire Patton Boggs. Could the panel come forward?
Dr. Fatehi, can you join us? I don't think I'm mic'd yet. Is this on now? Yes. No.
I'm here.
Okay, let me get started. Excellencies, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, assalamu alaikum, and good morning to you. My name is Steve Nash, and for more than 30 years, I've been honored to serve as an advisor to hospitals, healthcare systems, and healthcare regulators. However, until last year, with the publication of Saudi Vision 2030, I had never witnessed a transformation program of the scope and scale presently taking place within the kingdom. By any measure, it's a massive undertaking. Consider, if you will, that the project includes conversion of the ownership and operation of most of the kingdom's healthcare facilities from government to public to private. This includes medical cities, acute care hospitals, primary care centers, rehabilitation hospitals, long-term care facilities, home care services, clinical labs, diagnostic imaging centers, and pharmacies, the whole kit and caboodle, all to be reorganized into regional clusters of vertically integrated care providers. The project also includes further development of the kingdom's model of care to be more patient-centric, promoting population health with increased emphasis on public health and expansion of access to primary care services, all based on the 6 pillars announced in Riyadh by the ministry about 10 days ago. To give you some idea of the breadth of the models reviewed by the ministry's Transformation Committee, now the VRO, 3 that stand out are the Alzira project, located in Valencia on the Mediterranean coast of Spain, the Canterbury project, located in Canterbury, New Zealand, and of course, Kaiser Permanente, located here in the United States. The project also includes conversion of what has been the historical plan of finance for much of the above. That is, from block grants to a more modern system of performance-based payments intended to incentivize better clinical outcomes in the form of higher quality and greater safety while reducing overall costs. And finally, the project includes the continued introduction of unified, electronically interoperable clinical medical records, which, when combined with claims data, will permit and inform the type of robust data analytics and physician support about which IBM Watson Health and the Cleveland Clinic spoke so eloquently in Riyadh just last week, and to which Mr. Immel just recently referred this morning. The success of much of this work will depend in large part on the enthusiastic participation of the private sector, both domestic and foreign, not as mere vendors, but as participants invited to invest and to act in partnership with the public sector. I suspect you'll hear much more about this transformational initiative from Drs. Al-Shabani, Dandashi, and Rothman, and my friend Dennis Kogod during the next panel. But first, within the context I've just outlined, our topic is best practices and innovation in healthcare delivery. And I have to say, it would be hard for me to imagine a panel of more distinguished experts to address this topic. His Excellency Dr. Qasim Al-Kasabi, CEO of the King Faisal Specialist Hospital and Research Center, Dr. Mark Bloom, President and CEO of Houston Methodist Hospital, Dr. Waleed Fatehi, Chairman and CEO of the International Medical Center, and Peter Slavin, President of the Massachusetts General Hospital. Gentlemen, here are a few thoughts to get us started. According to a 2017 report from the World Economic Forum entitled Value in Healthcare, Laying the Foundation for Health System Transformation, despite the health sector's remarkable achievements over the past century, globally, healthcare is marked by growing concern over its sustainability. In particular, worldwide, costs are growing at roughly double the rate of growth in gross domestic product, putting severe pressure on healthcare budgets and constraining further development. Value-based healthcare can be a genuinely patient-centric way to design and manage health systems, and the potential to deliver substantially improved health outcomes at significantly lower costs. It can be argued that the value-based approach to healthcare rests on three foundational principles. First, the systematic measurement of the health outcomes that matter to patients and the costs required to deliver those outcomes across the full cycle of care. Second, the identification of clearly defined population segments and the specific health outcomes and costs associated with those segments. Third, the development of customized, segment-specific interventions to improve value for each of those population segments. Four key enablers of value in healthcare support, facilitate, and can even accelerate the reorientation of health systems around these three foundational principles. They are informatics, benchmarking, and as I've already mentioned, payment systems and care delivery models. And finally, public policy stands out. Perhaps that's the lawyer in me, because it can influence all of the other enablers of value in health. That is, the policies shaping the healthcare sector's legal and regulatory environment can either hinder value-based healthcare or greatly accelerate the transition to it. And now, with no further ado, let us turn to the experts on our panel, starting with my friend, His Excellency Dr. Qasim Al-Kasabi, CEO of the King Faisal Specialty Hospital and Research Center. Your Excellency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Your Excellency, distinguished guests, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start by thanking the organizer for inviting me to participate in this event. My first is, I'd like to quote our leader, King Salman bin Abdulaziz, in our Vision 2030, where he said the objective of our country to be a pioneering and successful global model of excellence in all fronts. King Faisal Specialist Hospital and Research Center, inaugurated in 1975, with the main hospital in Riyadh and the branch in Jeddah. The tripartite mission of the institution is tertiary and quaternary services, research, academia, and education. Our main campus in Riyadh, with more than 1,000 beds and about 1 million patients seen in the outpatients. We have about 12% of these are cancer patients. And our branch in Jeddah is 500 beds with a new site is going to be built in north of the city, just north of the Jeddah airport, over a land of 2 million square meters, and more than 1,000 beds with good opportunity for private sector participation. The skeleton 90% finished. We are pleased to announce some of our achievement. We ranked number 1 according to the Webometrics ranking in 2015 in the region. Also, we are pleased that we got stage 7 of HIMSS, electronic medical records, at the first institution in the region, and our branch in Jeddah, then our main hospital in Riyadh, got magnet recognition, which is very prestigious international nursing recognition. Only 6 hospitals outside the US got this recognition. Regarding our experience in transformation and innovation, organ transplant programs in the institution is one of our best. Over the last 10 years, it has tripled. In 2016, we did more than 1,290 organ transplant. Out of these, there are about 400 kidneys and about 380 bone marrow, 131 liver transplant, 28 hearts, and 16 lung, total of 1,290. And also, we are pleased to be pioneering institution in the region by doing fully laparoscopic liver donor hepatectomy. They remove the liver from the donor and liver transplant through minimally invasive, and I think we are leading center in the region and maybe in the world in this regard. Also, part of our innovation in the institution is in the solid organ, where we had active dual liver transplant process. These 2 twin brothers donated the left lobe of their livers for their father who suffered liver failure. And I'm pleased to say that the results are similar to international institution results. Also, one of our pioneer recent achievement, we did a 7-way paired kidney exchange transplant because to avoid the incompatibility. And this also, thank God, it went, alhamdulillah, very well. The result was according to the international benchmark. Regarding the genomics and the genetic experience of the institution, we have performed 191 cases in 2016. This is called pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, where they diagnose through genetic testing the fertilized ova in the first 2-3 days and avoid or prevent a severe disability, familial diseases. This is applied for rare and inherited diseases in oncology and pharmacogenomics. And this precision medicine, which is recently applied in some developed and well-renowned institution, the aim is the prevention of inherited diseases, which is quite common in our country, and also it is a targeted management of cancer patients and the prevention of harm from adverse drug effects. And we believe this saved and could save in the future billions of riyals in the healthcare. Regarding the IT and information technology, we are proud in the region to be first recognized by HIMSS Stage 7. Also, we are the largest in the region who implement Oracle, and in the quality we got ISO accreditation. The 4th industrial revolution, and further to what the CEO of GE just mentioned, Mr. Jeff, that we believe, or according to the economists actually, they said that the health sector may be the best sector going to benefit from the 4th industrial revolution. They estimated 45% will be in the health sector in this 4th industrial revolution with artificial intelligence, robotics, and 3D printing. We are proud to have very integrated clinical information system in all fronts. And also we are very proud to have e-services. We have remote 24/7 monitoring of patients in remote areas in 36 hospitals. In 2016, we served 517 patients in their remote areas, not in they don't need to come, all of them, to the main hospital. Virtual clinics launched in 2014. Also, we served about 1,100 patients. And one of the mobile applications that we are proud of is Sahati, which allow patients to manage their appointments, view medical reports, and request their medical supplies through this application, as well as we have secure staff access to the information anywhere. We believe that safety and quality is a long journey to excellence. And regarding quality, we have also a good program for quality, we believe, which rely on patient safety, patient experience, and clinical outcomes. And we have 9 composite KPIs, which are reported regularly to the board of directors. And these are dynamic reporting. And we believe also, according to the literature, that about $45 billion that these are healthcare associated infections per year in the US. 70% of some of these infections are being prevented. We believe transforming through culture, system, and process, and use of the analytics. And finally, we believe that we exist to humbly serve our patient, aiming to provide them with the highest quality of care while safeguarding their safety and dignity. If you allow me, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to run a video for less than 2 minutes about our e-services in the King Faisal Specialist Hospital and Research Center. It's less than 2 minutes, Mr. Chairman.
In 2016, 517 patients were seen through the tele-ICU services. 8.7% required transfer to King Faisal Specialist Hospital and Research Center. In 2016, 1,119 patients were seen through the virtual clinics by 21 specialties.
Using virtual clinic services in King Faisal Specialist Hospital and Research Center has increased patient satisfaction by meeting their own treating physician without the need to travel to Riyadh.
King Faisal Specialist Hospital is a place where lives are saved beyond the walls.
Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Dr. Bloom, would you like to continue?
My mic's not on. There we go. And I don't know if, there we go. Well, thank you everybody for having us here. Your Excellencies, thank you so much for putting together this conference. We really have valued our relationship with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia going back over 50 years now as an institution. Thought I'd tell you a little bit about Houston Methodist today, and who we are, what we do, and then a little bit more about our relationship with the Kingdom. We are a faith-based institution that crosses the city of Houston. We're very values-driven, and you'll hear this in some of the questions and answers we'll do later as well. really believing that people are the fundamental part of what makes healthcare work. We need the technology, we need the buildings, but if we don't have the people at the center of everything we do, we really can't deliver that kind of care. And so our values, we call them I-CARE, integrity, compassion, accountability, respect, and excellence, really guide everything we do. We embrace people of all faiths. In fact, you see a picture there. We have a Muslim prayer center right on the ground floor of our main hospital. That's the male portion. There's a similar female portion right next to that. Great basketball player Hakeem Olajuwon was one of the great donors, if anybody knows Hakeem Olajuwon, who played for the Houston Rockets. We have 7 acute care hospitals, 1 long-term acute care hospital, over 100,000 admissions, not including a lot of our physician office visits. This is just hospital visits, about 800,000 of those. We have a research institute, which I'll talk about briefly. We have residency programs, and as I said, we are faith-based and affiliated with the Texas Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. The clicker is not advancing. There we go. We really believe in performance metrics, and we really believe that the way to achieve excellence in healthcare, starting with the people and then putting processes around them and the key performance indicators to make that work. So we call our vision for the second century, we're 98 years old, about to enter our second century. We call it 6 simple words: unparalleled safety, quality, service, and innovation. And we actually put it in that order very intentionally. So we want a safe environment, of course, to care for our patients. We want the utmost quality. We want that in an environment that is spiritual, that in an environment that holistically cares for patients and recognizes that healthcare is much more than just the drugs we give and just much more than the devices we use, but the personal interactions that helps people on their journey, and a holistic approach to prevention as well as then care, obviously, for the ill. And then we do that in an environment of unparalleled innovation, really looking to how do we advance science, how do we provide better care tomorrow, each day, every day, as we move forward. Our philosophy has always been focused on the basics: safety, quality, service, innovation, and the accolades tend to come our way when that happens. Obviously, we enjoy receiving them. We don't really chase them because we do believe firmly that when we focus on those fundamentals, they just happen. We're on the U.S. News and World Report honor roll, one of only 2 faith-based hospitals on that honor roll, consistently the #1 hospital in Texas. We're magnet certified and have been magnet certified now 4 cycles at our main hospital and moving that through our other hospitals. And again, with that focus on employees, both Fortune magazine and Forbes magazine have ranked us very highly as a top employer several times. Finally, the one we're probably most proud of, University Health System Consortium, or Vizient. This is an organization that's a consortium of essentially all of the academic medical centers in the United States, about 130 of those. They look at a bunch of key performance indicators, very metrics driven, no reputation, simply outcomes driven. We've consistently ranked number 8, number 9, right there out of 130 in the country, and very proud of those results. This is just an example. This is a top-level dashboard we use when you think about key performance indicators. This is the main one we use with our board of directors, but of course then goes down to many, many, many other indicators. If you think about institutional priorities and how you drive performance, we try to make it easy. We actually have a typical traffic light, red, yellow, green, but if you set threshold, target, and superior goals, you need a 4th category, so we kind of put a blue Methodist star, that's our color, as the top performance. But as you look at that and you think about how a board, how a leadership team sets goals, or how the kingdom might set goals, much of it is in how you put the incentives out. So out of 100%, 30% is finance. Critically important, but at the end of the day, safety and quality are 35%, service is 35%. So even in how they balanced, instead of 33, 33, 33, it went 30, 35, 35, just to send that key message that the most important things are outcomes, and we believe very firmly that the finances follow when we provide great care. And look at that. We believe in our employees. This was an exercise we did this last year, engaging our employees and really in our values, in our vision, and where we're going. Saw significant movement in how we do that. We actually survey employee engagement each year. Our employees are at the 95th percentile nationally of employee engagement, which we think really does help drive those results. This had a little storyboard of, where were we in the past, where are we today, where are we going tomorrow. Spent a couple hours with every one of our employees grounding them. And of course, in healthcare, many of our employees have the privilege of working frontline with patients and doing that every day, but a whole bunch of our employees are really not interacting with our patients, yet the reason they come to work every single day is to result in better patient outcomes. And this was a great way to remind folks of that and to tie them to that. This is a picture of our part of the Texas Medical Center. Actually, the line there encircles all of Houston Methodist. The Texas Medical Center is the largest medical center on the planet, multiple institutions there. We're one of the first 3 or 4 founding members going back to the early 1950s. Right in the center of that, the tallest building, it will open within the next year. It's a major expansion and replacement facility for our hospital. And this is our footprint through the greater Houston area. Now, I always joke, Houston has no geographic landmarks, so our geographic landmarks are a freeway grid there that you see, but you can see really have worked to focus more on a population base to make sure we were distributed out through the market. Just to give you a feel, the greater Houston area is 10,000 square miles, or 26,000 square kilometers. Give you a feel for that, the state of Massachusetts is 10,500 square miles and 27,000 square kilometers. So it's a very large market, 6.5 million people, and we really have focused then on how do we provide care evenly to that group of people. I can literally drive almost 100 miles, 150, 160 kilometers from one edge to the other edge of where our hospitals are. We also believe we have an interesting model from innovation. We are an independent academic medical center, meaning we do not have our own medical school. We are not completely intertwined or integrated with a medical school, yet we pick partners for the best of what we'd like to do. So our primary affiliate being Weill Cornell in New York City, with a lot of research and with a lot of our academic appointments, a secondary affiliation with Texas A&M, working now on engineering medicine and how do we bring engineering and medicine together in degree programs for those individuals. Our research is very focused on translational research, so we're not focused so much on the bench. We're focused obviously a lot on clinical with patients, but we're really focusing on how do we accelerate research from translation, from that discovery at the bench, and get it quickly to patients. Because one of the key challenges every society faces is that process. We call it the valley of death, the 17 years, $2 to $3 billion it takes oftentimes to get an advance from the bench to the bedside. And so really have structured this research institute with good manufacturing processes, good laboratory processes to do that and to accelerate that, and lots of exciting things coming out of that. On the clinical trial side, many partnerships with industry, many partnerships with others. Actually, 2 key partnerships right now with GE that are underway. One of those actually is with GE and the NFL, the National Football League, looking at the problem of concussions and how we might identify concussions through imaging at an earlier point and impact the outcome. A second major project with GE, actually with Mass General and some physicians at Harvard as well, is focusing on imaging, early PET imaging and MRI imaging to focus on treatment of ALS by earlier recognition of ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. We also, the largest enrolling site with Medtronic for the endoscopically inserted aortic valves. Actually, Dr. Reardon, you see pictured there, is the lead author in the New England Journal just a couple weeks ago on that project. Obviously, we're Houston-based, but also have a long history of a global footprint. Dr. Michael DeBakey called us home for most of his career, actually very active around the world and in the kingdom. You can see we're throughout Central America. We are also in Turkey, we're in Dubai, and of course in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where we have an office in Riyadh. We also operate a clinic, the Valiant Clinic in Dubai. A number of things we do around the kingdom. We have a long relationship with King Faisal Specialty Hospital. Actually, Dr. DeBakey did the first heart surgery in 1979 at King Faisal. I myself have visited there as well subsequently. A long-standing relationship. We've sometimes sent clinicians and teams over there to help with some key VIPs and others with healthcare. We've also been helping recently with the King Abdullah Center for Oncology and Liver Disease. We also work with Anfas Medical Care and have been working with them on the commissioning of a long-term acute care facility, similar and doing some similar work that we've done with PSCC and Medicina. We're working with GE, and we've done training around mammography with GE in the kingdom, and are now working on a 5-day training program for radiologists and radiology techs. with Princess Noura University Hospital. We have a simulation collaboration that we've done with them, and a similar agreement with King Fahad Medical Center. And with Samama, we're assisting with the development of a women's health center chain throughout the country and the kingdom. We are excited about Vision 2030. We see lots of opportunity to work within the kingdom. And thank you again very much for the privilege of speaking here. Thank you.
Dr. Bloom, thank you very much.
This one here.
And Dr. Fatahi, would you like to continue for us?
Sure. طيب. Assalamu alaikum. I'm very honored to be here, and I must admit I cannot give presentation sitting. And if the cameraman is okay, I would like to go down. I'm okay with this? Fine, good. Make your job more challenging. We're not as separated as we think we are, so I get my energy from you. My presentation, I must warn you, is not what you expect, but I believe it's the heart of the matter. It has to be said to reach the balance. What is innovation? When we say innovation, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Anybody? Something new. Yes? Change. You guys are so wise. Please don't answer. Usually comes to mind is something like technology, right? New technology, innovation, new industries, new products. That's the first thing that comes to mind. But I want to share with you what is the definition of innovation, which is actually the new idea. It's the change. The method or device are not the innovation. The innovation is the new idea. It could be a method, could be a device, but it's the new idea. So what is the tool for innovation? The tool is to keep asking yourself, why and why not? This man was sitting and he said, why the apple drops to the floor? I asked my daughter one time. She said, Baba, don't be silly. Of course it will drop to the floor. But he asked that question, why the apple doesn't fly? To you and me, maybe this question is observed. This is a silly question. But that question and the answer was the foundation of the Industrial Revolution with Newton's law. Because he asked the question, why and why not? And he asked a question which might seem to be obvious. So what is the single most innovative idea to transform healthcare? That's my topic today. What is the single one? If I have no choice, but one, what is it? Before I answer, I want to tell you what healthcare is today and how healthcare will be in the future if we continue to do what we're doing, regardless how we do it. Obesity, we're getting heavier year after year. The good news is that Saudi Arabia and the United States and Kuwait, we are the leaders and the highest index of obesity in the world. We're competing. By the way, we are better than you because we are still in our baby boom. So we'll surpass you very soon, okay? Diabetes, it's a bitter reality. It's continuing to grow, spreading. Cardiac disease silencing the world. Smoking consuming the globe. Cancer taking over the world. And happiness index going down. In other words, we're losing the battle. We are less happy, we are less healthy, and our well-being is going down. So what are we doing? This is the definition of health. 1948, 62 countries signed this declaration in New York in July 1948. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Question, if you know the answer, please don't answer it. No, the ones who heard the answer before. How many times this definition has changed over 70 years? If you know the answer from before, then answer it. Okay, go ahead, answer. How many times? Zero. I challenge you to bring me a few things that has not changed over 70 years. Why this definition hasn't changed over 70 years? Why? Why? Because they got it right from the first time. It's holistic, mind, body, heart, and spirit. However, We have not practiced that whatsoever. That's why John Travis in 1978, he came with the iceberg model. The tip of the iceberg is the state of health. Your state of health or illness or health or wellness is only the tip of the iceberg. To understand this, you have to go deeper. Lifestyle, behavior. But to understand why some people continue to pursue a very destructive lifestyle, destructive to themselves and to the universe around them, you have to go deeper to the psychological, motivational level. To understand why these people have no motivation to change their lifestyle, you have to go even deeper to the spiritual, the well-being. If you have no value for yourself, you don't see yourself as the most sacred thing on earth, you have the Spirit of God in you, then why would I have any psychological motivation to change my lifestyle? And I had my patients say, Dr. Wali, do you think this cigarette will make a difference in this world? And they continue to smoke because they see no value for themselves. Now, so why aren't we doing the right thing? Since the definition has been right from day number one. We're not doing it because there is one answer, one word. What's the word? One word. Greed. I love that answer. It's actually the bottom line. We are run by corporations worldwide, the CEOs, the majority of them, answer to the investors and their task, their objective, to maximize the profits of their investors at your expense, and they found out that they can make more money out of your illness than your wellness. As simple as that. Why do we continue to have sugar in all these products? Sugar is poison. We know that. 1 teaspoon of sugar reduces your immunity by 50% over 2 hours. As a matter of fact, some of us believe that there's only one disease called cell dysfunction caused by sugar. It impedes the function of the cell, cannot fight infections, cannot regenerate or heal. Not only this, they put sugar in everything, even multivitamins. Trust me, if you have tried 4 different multivitamins, next time you go, subconsciously, you're going to choose the one with the highest sugar because it has been registered in your brain with the higher amount of dopamine. That means they got you addicted. That's all they want, get you addicted. So you got even in multivitamins, smoking, pollution, everywhere. And the game is dopamine. All we try to do in this life, get as much dopamine as possible. Even the most pious people who wake up at the night to pray to God is dopamine. You're getting more dopamine, but this is constructive and this is destructive. Now, those who read this article know the answer. Please do not answer. Let's assume we have a country which has so much money, abundant wealth. Every single person will be treated as a VIP, as a king. Full access of care. The best doctors in the world, the best clinicians, the best surgeons, the best equipments, the best medications, all free. And a full access to your doctors with whatever amount of time you need for consultation and for education. What do you think the impact on healthcare would be on the individual and society percentage-wise? Those who know the answer, don't answer. What do you think? Anybody? Give me a shot. 90? 95? What? 99? 99. We got 99. What 0%? Who said 0%? No, this guy is going to destroy my lecture. Who said 0%? What? No, who said 0%? I want to find. 0? Why 0? He's correct. Because you want to destroy my, you do like my wife when she wants to put me down, okay? The answer is actually amazing. It's contrary to what we think. It's less than 15%. That study was done by CDC, 2010, published in American Journal Public Health by the director of CDC. So where is the 85%? If all this we're doing is only 15%, all these wonderful things we're doing with equipments and research and medications, everything we're doing 15%. Where is the 85%? Because of time, I'm going to have to run. Has to do with the socio-economic factors, poverty, and public education. It has to do with the policies that the government would put to make the default choice is the healthy choice. So when I go to the grocery shop, I have 500 riyal, I have two choices, to buy this amount of healthy food or this amount of unhealthy food. This is the way it should be done. For the sake of time, I'm going to run faster. This is what we're doing in healthcare. We're doing as if we're standing on a shore, and I hear a person crying for help, drowning. So I jump in the water, get that person to the shore, start artificial respiration. The minute that person starts to breathe, I hear another person crying for help. So I jump again to the water. I bring that person to the shore, give artificial respiration. The minute the person starts to breathe, I hear a third person. I go to the water, do the same thing until I get so exhausted to the point I look and ask myself the most important question, which we're not asking. Who is throwing all these people into the river upstream? It's a case for refocusing upstream. So is this the single most innovative idea? By the way, I'm not here trying to compromise or undermine any industry. I'm just trying to here make a paradigm shift and bring the balance. Is this the single most innovative idea? It's going to change healthcare? It's not. Is it this? It's not. Is it this? It's not. It is this. Treating the global collective dysfunction of the human mind. I call it technology in the service of madness. And it's true. This is what countries should do, called health in all policies. Not a single policy should be passed by a country without the health authority approves it to understand the impact on that individual mind, body, heart, and spirit. You don't do policies for me and then destroy the health of the individual and come to me, say, treat them and open hospitals. Tax, but please, when you tax, subsidize. Don't take the money back to improve the income. You have to subsidize the healthy food. So I'm going to ask in 3 minutes, less than a minute, why not? So why not invest in healthier choices? I wish I have today seen investment in that field. Why not investing in wellness? Why not investing in what they eat? We still have our schools. They eat garbage. Why not investing in how they move? We still have no health clubs. We don't have an opportunity for women to have health clubs. Why? Why invest in how they learn? Get them out of this miserable environment. Why not investing in how they live? Invest in the environment. Invest in how they play. Invest in how they socialize. What happened? It's probably my electromagnetic field so high. I burned it. Invest in how they socialize as a family. Invest in how they commute. And invest in how they work. To me, the single most innovative idea to transform healthcare worldwide is not in continuing doing the same thing we've done before. It's not about building hospitals or equipments or medications or research. It's about refocusing upstream, treating the global collective dysfunction of the human mind by transforming the lifestyle of society. Because I assure you, if you continue to do what we're doing, we will always be behind. God bless you all.
Dr. Fatehi, you remind me of Einstein and his definition of insanity, which is continuing to do the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result. Dr. Slavin.
Well, that is certainly a very hard act to follow, and I guess I've been, I guess it would be inappropriate for me to sit in my chair and be sedentary, so I'm actually going to go over to the podium and speak to you there. I'm not going to wander on the audience. So my name is Peter Slavin. I have the honor of being the president of Mass General Hospital, academic medical center, just about 2 miles from where you're sitting, or in my case, standing. We've been here in the city of Boston for over 200 years, and I have to say that I want to first thank organizers of this conference for the honor of inviting me to participate in this conference, and I'm certainly honored to serve with my fellow panelists. We too have really enjoyed our collaborations with organizations in the Kingdom and the privilege of taking care of patients from the Kingdom for many years. And certainly your Vision 2030 is an inspiring vision, something that excites us about working with you and finding additional opportunities to invest and collaborate with you. But I also hope that as you hold this conference here in Boston, that you'll be inspired and excited about what's going on here in this city. This has really become an incredible hub of innovation, particularly in healthcare and the life sciences. We are very fortunate to have some great educational institutions here in town, Harvard, MIT, and a number of others. Year after year, they attract very talented people to this region from around our country and around the world. And we also have an unprecedented collection of teaching hospitals, biotech companies, research pharma laboratories. There's more biomedical research going on within 5 miles of here than any other 5 miles that you could find anywhere else in the world. And so this is really, there's just such great excitement here in the potential for the future of healthcare and the future of the life sciences. And we are thrilled in this community that General Electric has decided to join that milieu and now is another important part of this life sciences cluster. And many organizations here in town are excited about the opportunity to work with that great company. Just a few words about Mass General Hospital. Like I said, we were founded in 1811, largely to care for the poor people of this region who didn't have access to the healthcare system back in the early 1800s. But we also simultaneously were created to become the first teaching hospital for Harvard Medical School. Up until that time, medical students would go visit patients in their homes with physicians, and the hospital provided a much more concentrated site of teaching for our students. We continue a wonderful relationship with Harvard Medical School and remain the first and the largest Harvard teaching hospital. We operate a little over 1,000 beds on our campus on Fruit Street, admit about 50,000 patients a year to the hospital, and also see about 1.7 million outpatients. About a quarter of our budget is biomedical research. We have the largest research program of any hospital in the US, and it is broad and deep. I could spend the rest of my 6 3/4 minutes talking with you about the most exciting areas of research that are going on. They are truly mind-boggling. The two that I'll just point to in 10 seconds are harnessing the immune system to fight cancer and other diseases. It's just mind-boggling what's happening in that field. And the other, which we're collaborating with GE and others on, is using artificial intelligence, machine learning in healthcare. I think a force that will transform our ability to deliver healthcare better and more efficiently in the future. We are in this country facing a number of pressures in our healthcare system. Maybe the biggest is just the rising cost of healthcare and the potential that will make healthcare unaffordable for our government, businesses, families, and individuals. And so we've been around for 200 years trying to address our society's most pressing healthcare problems. And so we've spent considerable energy, particularly in the last 10 years, trying to figure out how to bend the cost curve and figure out ways to deliver care more affordably and better. And so I know there's a too often used term called population health management that we have been investing heavily in an effort to try to figure out how to deliver care to a large population of patients in ways that are better and safer. This is a chart which just outlines the various domains that I think population health management lends itself to. The one on the left, primary care, I think is undoubtedly the most important and the one that we started with over 10 years ago, embedding resources within our primary care practices to make sure that patients' care were well coordinated and patients spend as much time at home as opposed to being in the hospital. But we have subsequently invested in some of these other areas as well, in certain specialty areas, the care continuum, engaging patients through our electronic health record, and as previous speakers said, recognizing that the social determinants of health are responsible for probably about 80% of the health of a population, engaging in wellness and other efforts to improve those social determinants. We are trying not only to think about how can we better serve the local population, but how can we help other populations around the world. For a number of years, patients have come here to Boston to receive care from Saudi Arabia, other countries as well. So we've been in the business on the left for a long period of time. We are also increasingly trying to use the power of telemedicine to help coordinate care and provide care more remotely. We are increasingly involved in advisory services, helping advise organizations about educational programs, nursing, clinical care. And we are also have just recently gotten deeply involved in places around the world. I just got back a few weeks ago from announcing a major collaboration in Shanghai with a new hospital that will be opening there later this year called Jiawei International, whose developers hope to make it China's best hospital with an initial focus on cancer. So we are certainly interested in looking for opportunities to get much more deeply involved in countries around the world, and look forward to further discussions with people from the kingdom. Here in Boston, we have created a Center for Specialized Healthcare Services that serve our international population. That center, which is led by Misty Hathaway, who's here in the audience, provides initial intake, helps with scheduling, guest services, and the financial aspects of care, and hopes to do it in a very seamless way. We are also, like I said, involved in, with institutions and provider organizations around the world, again, helping with referrals, providing consult services, providing healthcare services remotely, and also providing continuing medical education. Our team tries to make the process as seamless as possible for the patients who decide to come here to Boston. And again, a lot of the activity happens remotely over the internet with pre-visit telemedicine visits and post-visit follow-up via the internet as well. And so we are very bullish about the use of telemedicine, both in helping care for our local population, but also caring for people around the world. And like I said, we're doing a lot with international patients with pre-visit consultations, so that the time they spend here in Boston is as productive as possible, and then follow up via the internet as well. So we are, like I said, honored to be part of this conference. Look forward to more opportunities for discussion, collaboration with individuals, organizations within the kingdom, and look forward to the panel discussion in a few moments. Thank you all so much.
So we have about 20 minutes now for discussion amongst the panel and to handle questions from the audience. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't invite you to raise your hand if you have a question. Sir, right here. Do we have a floor mic? It's coming.
Bismillah. Thank you, panel moderators and speakers. My name is Rida Khalil, ex-employee, Minister of Health, Saudi Arabia, currently Chairman of Dar al-Noor Health Consultancy Company, Saudi Arabia, and the CEO private health company to Saudi Arabia. Firstly, I would like to express my thanks and appreciation for the great ideas and solutions presented by the speakers for the best practices and innovation in healthcare. If Mr. Mark allow me for one question. How these great services for best practice and innovation can be implemented and could be applicable in terms of huge yearly increase in the health expenditures. As we know, the health care expenditures in some countries exceed 15%. For example, the expenditures in your nice country, USA, is 70% of the GDP. In addition to that, how this could be applicable too in terms of the huge loss of the health resources. WHO reported many years ago that 20 to 40% of the health resources lost yearly due to the inefficient and bad health management. Thanks for your clarification.
Well, thank you. I think two or three of us touched on that topic a little bit in our talks here. There's no question that we are all facing a difficult time ahead, looking at the percentage of GDP and the choices that are made around how to spend and what to spend on healthcare. Our country, unfortunately, leads in that process, spending much more than most countries, and sometimes on societal measures of health, not always receiving the best outcomes. We have, as was touched on, a system that is still very focused on sickness rather than wellness. And I firmly believe, if you want to come to the United States and you go to a Mass General, you go to a Houston Methodist, you go to many other great institutions, they can't be topped around the world when you're sick. What we've struggled with as a country is then how to care for a population, how to focus on really the wellness side. It's part of why I talked about starting with the spiritual nature of what we do to care for people. If we think about cost and how to get that under control, there's many terms out there of how to do that. Like most things in life, there's an 80-20 rule, a 90-10 rule, a 5-95 rule, in that small portions of people demand the greatest resources. The person who is unfortunate enough to have severe end-stage organ disease is the person who needs the transplant, for example. That person needs very expensive care. I completely agree we need to focus earlier in terms of prevention in trying to avoid some of those situations. Now, one thing that's very important to think about, and I'm a primary care physician by background in prevention, is that we will, at least in today's science, we will all get old, we will all die, we will all have healthcare problems. And one of the challenges we're all facing is as we've become more and more successful with cancer treatment, with heart disease treatment, obviously earlier on with infectious disease treatment, with other measures, is we've allowed people to live longer. And right now we're facing a major challenge as we look at neurological diseases, chronic degenerative diseases, and the sort. And that's really where we're focusing our research time and attention on today. I see a couple hands to the left here. I'll let these guys
If I could just build on what Mark said, and there's no doubt within our healthcare system we could do a better job and figure out ways to reduce the cost of care in this country. I mentioned care coordination maybe being the first thing we need to do a better job on, but there are countless others. But I think one of the most interesting studies that I've seen looking at healthcare costs in the US was done by somebody who actually used to work at Mass General. Her name is Betsy Bradley. She became a professor of economics at Yale and actually just recently became the president of a university. And she looked at healthcare and social spending in the United States and in a number of countries in Western Europe, and found that although if US healthcare spending per capita is clearly the highest by a long shot, but if you add healthcare and social spending together across all of these countries, the number is almost identical. We spend much more on healthcare, much less on social spending than our European colleagues. And I would argue that they are doing a much better job addressing these social determinants of health by lowering poverty, improving the environment, et cetera, and saving money on the healthcare system as a result. I would argue that we as a society are not investing very wisely, and I would support moving in the direction that her study suggests. I think, unfortunately, the political climate in this country is not moving in that direction, so it's going to take some time before perhaps we will.
I just remind you of the parallel I gave you. Just imagine if you spend all your innovation of how you can save these people from the water, from the river, bring them back and give them artificial respiration. It's not going to change anything, because unless you focus some of the innovation in preventing those who are being thrown up the stream, you'll always be behind. Now, if there were in this country incentive to invest in innovative ideas in prevention as much as treating acute disease, today you would have the United States different than what it is today.
Just to add to what my colleagues have said, the literature in Europe, the primary health care, about 55 to 60% of any society health services, you can cover it with a primary health care service. So I think this is also an idea if we, particularly in our country, and I think the plan is there, once we expand and develop the primary health care, you might reduce the cost.
Just want to give an example. Australia was able to cut down smoking over the last 10, 15 years, 40% to 30% to 20% to less than 9%. That has significant impact financially as well as on society as a whole. Just imagine if every country were able to cut down smoking down to less than 10%. The impact would be quite significant, just smoking by itself. Of course, smoking and obesity are the two major factors for most of the chronic disease people suffer from.
And it seems to me, if I may, that part of the solution to keeping people from jumping in the river upstream, some of them jump themselves, is increased use of primary care, and in that connection, increased deployment of nurse practitioners and physician's assistants. Although remember I mentioned earlier that public policy can have a real impact as it impacts the regulatory and legal structure of a nation. So it might be worth considering creating licensable categories within the kingdom for nurse practitioners and physician's assistants who could then come back to the country, practice their profession, and help keep people from jumping in the river upstream.
Well, actually, if governments have enough time, instead of doing what private sector could do better in terms of treating patients, you cannot have two hats, where you as a Minister of Health treat patients as well as do their regulations. I believe the government's role should be always to invest in areas that the private sector would not invest simply because the results are not going to be shown next year. It's going to be shown after 10, 20 years. And that's what Australia did. They invested as a government. They invested on certain determinant, obesity, car accidents, smoking, and that's the role of governments because the reward is going to be long-term, might not be seen from the private sector, and it needs somebody who just sees it from macro level outside instead of having to deal with the purely financial transactions and the reward, the immediate reward.
And I would say that's actually an international problem in my experience, the reticence in front-loading an investment for a back-end benefit, where it takes 10 years to realize the benefit. Dr. Kasabi, I know that you were interested in talking a little bit about the research program at King Faisal and some of the benefits you've seen come out of that. Would you like to elaborate, perhaps?
Well, we are proud in our institution that we concentrated in the genetic research and the genome. And we have identified through the collaboration between our scientists and the clinician a few genes which are related to some of the familiar diseases and some of the inherited diseases which cause severe disability. And we actually managed to treat some of our patients, as I said, by the PGD programs, pre-gestational diagnosis, and managed to save the families from having a very severely disabled child with the cost of this. And the estimated saving were about $500 million Saudi riyals of the families which they managed to save if these families have their children with severe disability disorders. And we are really expanding in this, and we are very proud of our achievement in the precision medicine, as I mentioned briefly in our talks. And we hope that we'll expand in this and apply it more and more, even in marital testing and in prevention on a wider scale to avoid the society of having some of the inherited diseases or preventable diseases.
So I imagine you have a lot to talk about with Peter and Mark and Waleed on that subject. I apologize. I know there's a lot of interest in these.
But can I comment on this? This is very important. 95% of our diseases has nothing to do with genetics. 95% has to do with the epigenetics. Epi is a Latin word. Epi means above. And we know today that 95% of disease has to do with the environment, our choices. And that was born in 2007 at Duke University, in which he was able to change a very strong gene, agouti rats. For than 1,000 years, these rats are miserable, fluffy, yellow, obese, they have infections, cancers. He was able to stop this gene simply by changing the diet of those rats from typical American diet to diet rich in vegetables, and he was able, after 1,000 years, not only the first generation, first, second, third, they were normal rats, brown, lean, no infections, no cancers. Today we know 95% of the disease had to do with epigenetics, is our choices. So I don't want to spend the money of the country in genes. I want to spend it in prevention, in creating an environment so people can change their lifestyle.
I'll just respond to, with all due respect to Dr. Waleed, familiar diseases in our country due to consanguinity marriages is very common. And we're talking about common diseases. And one child with severe disability will cost about 5 million Saudi riyals for his lifetime. So if you save 100 child, you save about $500 million Saudi riyals. And this is a fact. There are families there who are managing. And by selecting the healthy ovum when it is 3 days old by IVF fertilization, that's what I meant. So that's practice. If you don't do it, they will have very severely disabled child.
Yeah, let's say we stop it, we continue, but we have to give weight to the epigenetics and changing the environment. I want investments in changing our lifestyle, not in technology or hospitals or genes. That's my humble opinion.
And perhaps we should encourage investment, co-investment, healthcare with farms, farm to table, farm to hospital.
That's part of the investment, by the way.
I'm sorry to have to end on that note, folks, but we have, I'm getting the red hook here, and we have many more important presentations to hear from today. Thank you, gentlemen, for an excellent panel.
Break if you could be back at 11:15. Networking break back at 11:15. Thank you.